Welcome to the Princeton Podcast, where we talk about upcoming events, news, and local businesses. This is Princeton. Play here, stay here.
Before we get started today, just a reminder to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're also recording on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe at This Is Princeton MN. No.
The new dumpster in Princeton Insurance Agency.
Live from the future place of the Big Duck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm Zach Kitzman. No, I'm always Zach Kitzman, but this is Mary and this is Kim Young. And today's podcast is brought to you by Twice New Clothing and Treasures.
Today's guest often wears a red polo and khaki pants, and sometimes he's referred to as Jake. We don't have Jake on today, but please welcome Curt VanOort from State Farm Insurance Agency.
Thank you,
Zach
Perry.
and I were red.
That's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not wearing a polo today, so sorry. I should have got with the program.
Well, I was going to dress as Flo. He was going to dress as Jake, and she was going to dress as Mayhem.
Yeah.
Like this Band-Aid on the head.
That would have been good.
We were talking about how insurance companies seem to have the best commercials right now.
Oh.
I mean, if you think about them, they're all so memorable.
Yeah, and you can't get away from them. They're everywhere.
Yeah, but
honestly.
they do a really good job of...
Yeah, they've gotten creative.
Yes.
They really have.
Yeah.
The ad campaigns are amazing now.
Yep. Yeah, because there's a lot of commercials out there where they're great commercials, but you couldn't name the product. Mm-hmm. But the insurance companies have done a really good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Jake, when State Farm came up with that was something that one stuck.
That one really stuck.
Yeah, and at first it was kind of like Jake from State Farm, like in the middle of the night or whatever it was, all those commercials. But that lasted for years.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now it's like,
hi, Jake from State Farm.
Well, and
What are you wearing?
And then
Jake from State Farm.
the Jake from State Farms that are actually Jake.
Yeah.
You did have a Jake.
You did, yeah.
Oh, yeah. In the office for a time.
Yes.
Yep. One of my team members was Jake.
Yep.
That was good. It was an easy sale, you would think. I mean, for a name like that, Curt doesn't go as far as Jake.
Well, that's
It's
what you're
boom.
thinking. Somebody comes in for an interview and they're just like, well, my name is Jake. You're hired.
Have you got a future in insurance?
Yes.
Exactly.
It comes down to like their name and their child. Like, I think we should name him Jake.
Yeah.
That'd be a great career option for him.
Yep. Set for a job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then think about how much it's stuck. Like
Yeah.
everybody knows what Jake from State Farm means, and then also the Mayhem commercials or Flo.
Yeah.
Like if you mention Flo, someone's like, "Oh yeah, I know what Flo you're talking about."
Yep.
Or Jake. Like they did a real good job too.
And Jake, that came out quite a long time ago.
It
a number
has.
of years.
Yeah, it has. And
Yep.
it's gone through some iterations then,
Yep.
too. It's changed over time. And so, the Jake that we've got now is actually more well known than the first Jake.
Right.
And so,
Yep.
a lot of people wouldn't even remember that there was another Jake.
Exactly. Yep.
Except that first commercial was pretty good.
That was really funny. Yep. That was really good.
Well, so I have a background in insurance, and just even my short time of selling property and casualty, there was a few interesting stories or just people calling in, and I know that if I was able to have a couple funny stories in the 2 years, I'm sure you've had a couple funny stories in your time of being an agent.
There's been a few. And then when I was called to do this podcast, you start thinking about it and trying to come up with some. And then naturally I had total block. I couldn't think of any. And so I put the word out to some buddies just to try and get some ideas as to what were some funny ones that have come up. We've had a few.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this, Curt?
With State Farm since 1990.
Wow.
And in Princeton since 1997.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Long time.
agency, a long time.
Yep. I remember when we first moved back to Princeton, and you were located right on Rum River Drive, but this side, right over here.
Yep.
Yep. And we lived in North Branch, and you drove to our house to
I remember that
do
too.
our, and it was just like, oh my gosh, they do this? That was so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, still do that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's still something that's happening today. Not
Yeah.
a lot has changed.
Yeah. And now you have that beautiful building, and
It's a better spot to be. It's very visible. We get a lot of just walk-in traffic just from people coming by.
it's a really nice spot.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yep. So what are some of those interesting stories you've got?
I tried and write down a couple that wouldn't be totally raunchy, but
most raunchy ones.
There are terrible ones. I mean,
We're
there are
gonna
some
get it.
really bad
We're
ones.
gonna get that onto you.
You're gonna get that one? All right, I'll see. Yeah, I'll probably come up with a clean way to say that one. But so the one that homeowners that sticks out, there was a claim that was brought up by a buddy of mine in California, and he had said that the sun somehow caused a mirror in an upstairs bathroom to fall down, and it hit the faucet and caused the faucet to go on and proceeded to flood the downstairs from the upstairs bathroom and did $190,000 worth of damage to this house before they got home.
Plus
So-
7 years of bad luck.
Yeah. Broken mirror. Exactly.
Bummer.
That really happened?
That really happened, yeah. That was one that really happened.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've had some crazy cat losses with water. One was a cat had jumped into a guy's shower and did kind of along the same things. And he didn't realize it. And of course, the shower curtain's outside of the shower and the water's running down that the cat turned on. And same thing. He noticed it when water started creeping out into his living room where he was at.
Oh,
It was like, yeah.
Wow.
That one was not good either. That made a mess. So.
these dang cats.
I know,
Doggone
which they
cats.
could do that.
Remember when Grandma and Grandpa had a
Squirrel in their basement while they were gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were snowboarding in Arizona.
Snowbirding.
Yeah.
Not boarding.
Snowboarding?
I said birding.
They said boarding.
Snowbirding.
Yeah, I heard snowboarding. I was like, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
they were very active in their later years.
Oh, yeah. We've had, all sorts of varmints. Bats have caused problems. Bears have caused problems, yeah. Woodpeckers have caused problems. That type of thing is actually stuff that have
That you-
been submitted.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. And so how do claims like that change the insurance world?
What you'll usually see is then there's something that's going to be written into the policy at some point addressing it, either limiting or including it. They're going to exclude it in the future and be more direct, or they're going to say that they're going to expand coverage and say, no, that's something that's covered under the
So
policy.
is a lot of it, because it's not actually written in there, like if a cat turns on your faucet,
Right.
it's
Right.
more about,
Well, they're saying direct and accidental. They're saying something that happens suddenly, so not something that happens over time. So a cat going into the corner and peeing there for months on end.
Right.
Not something that's probably covered.
Right.
But cat jumping into the shower, pretty unexpected.
Okay.
Turning on the water, causing a problem.
do
Yeah.
people submit claims like they cat peed in the corner
Oh,
for a
sure.
number of years?
Variety of different things. That kind of stuff comes through. Or we've had talking animals, auto claim. There was, if you've been to the state fair and seen the size of the boar that wins down there in the swine barn, okay, get that in your head first, because what was turned in was a farmer had a boar that essentially tried to mount his vehicle and caused all sorts of damage to the bumper in trying to do so, or a bumper or the trunk on the vehicle. You think about a 1,200-pound animal jumping onto the back of the bumper or the trunk on a vehicle. Hey, there's a visual for you.
Yeah.
And who said insurance is boring?
Oh my goodness.
I heard you from over across the room saying something about mounting on a vehicle, and I assumed that the pig had died and it was being mounted, like lying on top of the vehicle.
No, not the
Different kind of
usual.
mount.
Different.
Yeah, not the kind of hitting a vehicle or hitting an animal with your vehicle, deer hit or something.
It's not like the animal hitting your vehicle.
Yeah, no, it's the other way around. Covered, Jack.
So was that covered?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. And he had to come in and say,
Oh, yeah, you
This
got
is
to
what
report
happened.
that. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Part of the claim process, reporting that claim.
Can you bring the
Adjuster must have been
bumper in?
like, wow. Is there any cameras that got that?
I wish. They needed a ring door camera or whatever at that moment. That's what it was made for.
honestly, to do that damage.
I know. Yeah, think about that.
How much damage did it?
It was not a lot, but I don't know when that was. It could be now, everything being plastic on vehicles and things
Right.
like that. It could have been a lot more.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, could have been
Wow.
$5,000 easy.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
I know, like, my son has a car where he has a bulb out in the front, but the whole entire bumper has to be the front.
To get to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah,
like a
near
$150
impossible,
deal.
Or it's an assembly.
Yep.
Yeah, and the whole thing has to be replaced.
Yep.
But yeah, getting access to it sometimes is just the cost of it too.
Yeah, just to screw in a light bulb, so he just is not getting it done, and it's like, yeah, he's been pulled over a number of times and
Warned.
been,
So far
warned so far, yeah.
This must be your oldest.
Yes, of course. Mhm. Yes.
So that's some of the stuff that I'm seeing. I'm sure there's a lot of other ones, but then I've forgotten them, just for protecting clients' best interests.
Yes.
Just forget them immediately after you think of them. I've done dumb stuff myself. I could share those, but not as good as the bore. Or as the
Yeah.
others.
No.
That is an awesome story.
When I was an agent, when I had first started, and I was learning kind of about everything, and I was actually in Zimmerman, I was I was being trained by another agent, and he was in the middle of this claim where this guy was boiling eggs, and he fell asleep.
Oh, no.
So then all the water evaporated, and the eggs exploded, and so it was a huge smoke claim.
Completely smoked things out. Yeah.
Oh,
It was a
really?
huge claim. And I was like, from boiling eggs?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, and he fell asleep.
And was he in his own house or was he in an
Yeah.
apartment? 'Cause
In his
you
own
think
house.
about
I think it was a house.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
But either way, it would have caused problems.
Yeah. Exploding eggs.
And I bet, ugh.
Yeah.
The smell.
Uh-huh.
I just recently had a friend. He had an apartment in downtown Minneapolis, and he had one of those like Ninja. I don't think it was that actual brand, but one of those cooking pods or whatever. And he had started like some longer roast or something that would take like 20, 25 minutes to cook in it or whatever. And he had ran downstairs in his apartment to go do something, check his mail or whatever, and come back up. While he was outside, the fire department had showed up and like all this stuff. So he must have been gone for like a couple minutes.
Got
but
distracted.
all of a sudden there was firefighters running in the house and all this stuff and into the apartment building. And what ended up happening was that the device had started on fire and caught fire and then burned down his whole apartment.
Wow.
Whole thing. So
The whole apartment.
the
Building?
whole apartment.
The building.
Not the building, just they were able to like keep it
Keep it.
contained, but yeah.
Oh, no.
So he was dealing with that insurance claim for a long time, and then just the smoke damage, the fire damage, the cabinets, the everything.
Oh, my God.
The damage to somebody else's apartment potentially too, just from
Yeah.
the smoke coming from yours.
So Curt, for that example,
Yeah.
so you guys are gonna obviously cover that.
Yeah.
But then does the insurance company turn around and go after the
Yeah.
manufacturer of
Yeah,
the
through subrogation.
appliance?
Yeah, they'd
Okay.
look at that device and they'd say, okay, what caused it? Is there something that you could figure it out and trace it back then to the manufacturer?
Okay.
And so in that case also, since it's an apartment, if he didn't have renter's insurance,
He's paying it out of pocket
he's just paying everything out of pocket. And
or
he,
absorbing it himself, yeah.
so he's responsible for that fire?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yep, that's
He
where,
had
that's where
renter's
the
insurance.
fix.
He did have
Yeah.
renter's
Yeah.
insurance.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
No.
because do you think, what would you guess, the majority have or don't?
I think anymore, there's probably still a majority.
That have it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that have it. Some of the younger kids, I'm seeing more and more choose not to. Just don't see the interest, don't see the need, and so they don't. But you think about that one, there's their own property
Right.
damage, their own items.
Yeah.
The liability they've got for damage to somebody else's.
Yeah.
And then the time that they're spending not being able to stay in their apartment. They
Yeah.
still got to pay on that lease, but
Yeah.
they've
Oh,
got to stay
right.
someplace else. So
They're still
it's
paying
just
that
like
monthly fee,
ching,
yeah.
ching,
Right.
adds
Yeah.
up.
There was my mentor that was teaching me the insurance. He's like, just think about if you had your apartment or your room or whatever, and if you were to flip it upside down and everything fell out, he's like, how
Good
much would it
example.
cost to replace all of that stuff? He's like, that's all we're covering. And my buddy, at the same time, he had his own like production equipment. So he had hundreds of thousands of dollars of drone material and cameras and lenses and let alone
All
your
gone.
average TV and
Yeah.
your couches and everything. But
Huge.
Yeah.
Adds up in a hurry.
yeah,
Is that
sure does.
An HO4?
Yeah. Yep. You got it.
Testament.
You still got it.
Still got it. HO6 is the townhome. The HO6 was the most confusing for me to learn.
Oh.
Because of the interior walls
Yeah.
versus the exterior
Yeah.
walls.
'Cause they're
and who
shared
has the
walls and
roof.
stuff.
Every
Yeah.
association's bylaws dictate how it's going to be handled.
Oh.
Yeah, so you've got to pay attention to the specifics on that.
Okay. Yeah, now this wouldn't be under your realm, I don't think, but when I just recently went to the vet, I know it right away. She's like, "Do you have pet insurance?" Just like it was a normal everyday thing, and I think it's becoming.
It is.
It
And,
is.
funny, but State Farm does offer.
Oh, they
it.
do?
Not specifically, but they partner, they do a lot of the stuff now through partnerships, and so it's through a Trupanion is the name of the company that does it.
Oh.
And they do actually, pet insurance is
Yeah,
a thing.
yep.
And it's a pretty big thing. too.
Yes.
Yeah, huge.
And now, I mean, we were actually in the office yesterday. There was someone else in here, and there's a groomer right down the way. And we watched as this guy brought his golden retriever, and then, first he got out of his truck and he put like a little ramp up to his truck. Then he went and picked up his dog, and it was a golden retriever. And the dog walked up the ramp into the truck, and we were sitting here going, "Oh my gosh!" And he saw us, so he came in and he said he is having knee surgery next week, and he can't jump in, and he just had his other one done.
Oh, yeah.
And he said it's $5,000 each leg.
Yep.
The dog.
Yeah.
For the knee surgery on the
Yeah,
dog.
yep.
We had a dog that adopted us, and it had that same thing, that same surgery on both knees
On
as well.
both. Yeah.
Dog picked the right house to walk down the
Exactly.
driveway on.
Was that black lab?
That was the black lab.
Yeah.
Yep. Good dog. Turned out to be a good dog. Partnered with our German Shepherd for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But needed 2 knees. So
But yeah,
Oh,
so
our free
gosh.
dog cost more than a German Shepherd.
I take it you did not have insurance.
I did not
pet
have
insurance.
no pet insurance. Yeah.
because I think they'll cover, some of the, exams and kind of like health
Yep.
insurance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
That's
so,
funny.
yeah, I think depending on the breed, maybe it's a good thing.
And the age.
Yeah,
Yep.
but that's the thing with insurance. I feel like you're talking about renter's insurance and tipping it upside down, and about younger people. I feel like when I think about my attitude back then, it was like, ugh,
Who
my
cares?
stuff's not worth anything
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
But you don't think about
Don't see the value.
burning the apartment down.
In fairness, though, on the opposite end of the spectrum, too, I've got older folks that get to a point where they own everything that they've got, right? And they're not worried about replacing it because they're blessed or whatever the case might be. And they look at it as, why do I cover my house if I probably wouldn't build a house back like that? Maybe I've got a place down south that I go to or something like that. So they've gone to just taking away homeowners insurance entirely and going to liability just on the property.
No way.
Sure. Why not?
Wow.
It's
Yeah, I
all
can see
about-
that.
Yeah,
Just to
it's
save,
all
like-
about what you've got.
What?
Yeah.
$2,000, like.
Well, it's expensive now, though. It's
Yeah.
more around a couple grand a year
Yeah.
in some cases. And so
Yeah.
they just look at it and they go, I'd just move next door to a rental
Yeah.
property that I own as well, or something like that. So, yeah.
What about-
Interesting.
What about fraud
Oh.
claims?
We've got special units set up for that type of stuff, and that comes in pretty regularly. I remember when I was in claims, the big push was getting on top of personal injury fraud in auto accidents.
Oh, yeah.
And trying to break up some of the rings that were associated with that. And
Okay.
the fraud involved there. But it's a big deal.
Was that before the personal injury was the PIP?
Nope, it's been PIP since the 70s.
Oh, it has,
Yeah.
okay.
And so that was, thankfully, it was 1990 or thereabouts, and so it was a big deal. And it's still a big deal, I
Yeah.
think, now.
Do you want to explain quick to the listeners what PIP is?
Sure. PIP is just essentially based, or it's modeled after the statute that in Minnesota came in about the mid-70s, like I mentioned. And essentially what it is it says if you're involved in an auto accident, regardless of fault, and that causes a lot of confusion because it's referred to as no fault, but regardless of fault, you've got $20,000 medical coverage for yourself and $20,000 separate for economic loss benefits, they call it, so time you might miss from work or help you need around home and that type of thing. And so regardless of fault, it was put in place so there was no downtime. You're not sitting there holding on to those medical bills while they're trying to figure out who was actually at fault to pay for those
Okay.
medical bills, which used to be the old way when you had a
Yes.
straight liability. But no fault took that away and just gave that person who had that need for treatment the ability to go there and then not have that financial impact right away, waiting to find out what happened. Yeah.
And are there many other states that have that?
Quite a few.
Oh, they do, okay.
Yeah, quite a few. Colorado, I know, Florida. I couldn't tell you all of them, Mary. I'm not exactly sure anymore as to which ones have no-fault legislation. But yeah, there are quite a few.
And so you're saying that, is that kind of a cause of a lot of claims that are
Fraud?
fraudulent?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say that, the human animal will kind of exaggerate sometimes on a claim. And I think sometimes that's not necessarily fraud as much as just kind of human nature. Well,
Yeah.
it's just insurance,
Right.
What's it hurting? It's just insurance.
I've paid so much and
I've
not
paid this
used
amount
it.
into
Yeah.
And so that sometimes comes up. Very rarely
Okay.
do you see a full-on fraud case. That's so rare.
The ones that carry their neck brace in their trunk, as
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach was saying
Yep.
the other day.
Yep.
Yeah, they would drive like in 3 or something, and they would set up a car accident basically.
And that's the stuff that's real fraud. That's rings. Those are organized. They've got everybody involved, down to the participants on the street to the ones that are treating them after the fact and
All right, Mary,
representing
you're
them.
right.
And represented them, yeah.
Yeah.
When you
Like
say
Better Call Saul.
rings,
Yeah.
insurance fraud rings.
Oh, sure. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Well, and it doesn't maybe necessarily even start, that nefarious like that. They just are thinking, well, I've got a client who has an injury and I want to have them treated by someone who is going to take care of them. And it becomes, after a while, it becomes more of a referral network almost, or it might start like that. But then it turns after
Yep.
a while. You recognize that there's some financial incentives.
Have you ever watched Better Call Saul?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it turns,
There you
because
go.
he's the lawyer
Yeah,
and
he's the
eventually he's
personal
got
injury,
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's where he
Better Call
started.
Saul.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that a series?
Yeah, it's like from the Breaking Bad. It's a spin-off.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I only made it a couple seasons into Breaking Bad, and then it was kind of the same thing.
There was
No? Keep going?
Oh,
yeah,
it's
you
the
gotta
best
finish
series
that one
ever
out.
written
Oh,
in the
maybe
history of the world.
Try to get back into it.
Yeah.
There was a couple of fraud cases that I'd hear about, is that these people would go into like grocery stores and then slip and hurt their neck, because the neck was like the hardest to prove, like neck pain or something, or back pain. But
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, from auto accidents to
Yeah.
the slip and fall claims. It's the
Yeah.
hardest one to
They
prove
would, like,
because it's subjective.
throw milk and fall, or like just crazy.
Yeah.
Like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard to argue against sometimes.
Yep.
So
So what about parents with new drivers? What kind of things do you recommend to? Speaking from a mom of 3 boys.
Yeah. It's not as terrible as what you think. There are a lot of things out there that you can do. I'm a big believer in building some responsibility into it for the kids. And so starting the conversation early with them about getting good grades.
Yep.
Just something as simple as that, because they get a pretty big discount for that. And then a lot of companies, I know State Farm included, have programs that they will put the kids through. Ours is an app-based program, Steer Clear discount, where they can go through and they give them some curriculum on safe driving, and then some actual driving, some stuff that they have to record with their phone for
Okay.
driving. And then as long as they stay ticket and accident-free, they can earn that type of a discount.
Okay.
But then just talking to them, have them sit down, either if you're comfortable doing it or having your agent do that with them, just to talk to them about the realities of insurance and the costs. I've got a nephew who would love to have his own truck at 16, 17 years old, or even better, sends me a Porsche. Hey, Uncle Curt, can you quote this Porsche for me? It's
Yeah,
no.
okay.
Talk to your parents.
I remember having kids, like younger kids coming in, and they're so excited because they already purchased this car, this sports car. And then we quote them, and, their eyes just got big, like,
Yeah.
well,
They
I
don't
can't
know.
afford that.
Yeah.
Right, they don't know.
And they're like, well, I can only afford liability, and they just
Yeah.
paid, $20-some thousand that they saved up for all this money, and
Yep.
their insurance cost is
Yeah.
not what they were expecting.
Champagne tastes on a beer budget.
Yeah. It's not $20 a month.
No.
No. So yeah, just with the kids, just say education. I think it's important just so they understand.
And once they hit 18, is it then those grades and things like that are not a part of
No, it
the?
carries longer than that. You can extend that good student, at least speaking for myself, it extend out through 25.
Okay.
And so it really does continue to matter. And there's some benefits built into
Yep.
continuing to do that if it fits. Not everybody goes on for a
Right.
continuing education or anything like that. So but that's it.
Yeah, I was able to benefit from the good grades through like high school and college and stuff, and it did help.
Good job,
But
Zach.
thank you. My dad actually, he did talk to me out of
Yeah.
when I was like 16. I was on Facebook Marketplace and I had like these new Trans Ams and I had
Yep.
like all this stuff. I was like, I got the money. I'm like, I'm gonna buy. He's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Not yet.
got those.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? He's like, no, you got no.
Yep.
Like, let me here. Listen.
Yep.
I'm like, you had one. You had one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Different times.
Different times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to ask you too about the recent, I mean, the roof thing, everybody with the hail damage
yeah.
and so many people.
So
I mean,
many.
those roofs were being repaired for a couple of years at least,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
depending on the company, you've got up to 2 years typically to
Yeah.
have the repairs completed.
Was it 2 years ago in this area that
Yeah.
got hit twice
Yeah.
hard?
Yeah.
It was,
bad.
it was 3 times in 1 week, starting on May 9th of 2022.
Okay,
That
so it
storm
was 2
came
years
through,
ago.
and I remember watching it was when I had already made it to the office. So you're looking outside and going, oh, this is not going to be
Yes.
good.
No, in one of those, it must have been in May because my son had my car parked at the high school, and it busted the windshield.
Yeah, yeah, and it was substantial. I mean, it was minimum, I want to say, 3 days that week, and then the rest of that month of May, there were a couple more storms that came through and did the same thing.
Yep.
And so there were roofs, literally on everywhere, and there were vehicles, if they were stuck outside, whether they were travel trailers or regular private passenger type stuff, just widespread. Oh, what a mess. We had over 1,000 claims, I want to say, just in our office.
Just in your
And maybe you
office
still are
here.
dealing with it.
Yeah.
If you said 2 years.
Yeah, still hoping to finish some things up. Not a lot of them, but still a few of them are finishing things up then before the end of by statute, to claim everything that you can get as far as recoverable depreciation, you've got to have it done in 2 years, at least
Okay,
with State Farm.
yep.
Some other companies might be a year, I'm hearing,
Yeah.
and some others, but yeah.
But it was an interesting time too, because we had a number of roofing companies, stop at our house. Are you sure that, and well, you can go take a look, have at it, but we didn't have anything that was, substantial to
Me neither.
turn in a claim.
Had turned, and it hit our house. We had just put on a new roof the fall before on the house. And so that roof handled it fine. It was asphalt
Yeah.
shingle. But the roof on the detached structure, so like a garage
Yep.
and then a pole building, that didn't handle it so well.
Yeah,
So,
yep.
Yeah.
So what do things like that do to the insurance world as far as what we pay and,
Well, the goal with any insurance company is to take in $1 of premiums and pay out hopefully $1 in claims and try and strike that balance. And you're seeing now with the claims situation, particularly from these storms, driving that out of whack. The ratio's off. So they're not taking enough premium in, so the natural next step is premium increases, rate increases,
Right.
which is hitting everybody.
Yeah,
You can't hide from it.
no.
So I just want to take this time real quick to honor our sponsor.
Twice New Clothing and Treasures, formerly known as the Princeton Clothing Center, is an all-volunteer nonprofit organization. The store has been in the community since 1953 and uses the proceeds from its sales of donated merchandise to support various causes and nonprofits in the community. Each year, Twice New puts thousands and thousands of dollars back into the community. What can you find at Twice New Clothing and Treasures? Almost anything. They often receive new clothing items with tags. In addition to clothing, you can find sheets, blankets, books, cooking items, knickknacks, purses, toys, and much more. And don't forget to walk across the hall to check out Twice New too. This is an expanded area with lots of great finds. Twice New Clothing and Treasures operates off your purchases. The more you purchase, the more they're able to support the community, and they're always looking for volunteers. Check out Twice New Clothing and Treasures, located in the Princeton Mall at 116 South Rum River Drive. They're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Come find your treasure at Twice New Clothing and Treasures.
All right. Welcome back.
All right. Well, when we went on our commercial break, we were kind of talking about the claims with all the roofs and the weather recently in the last couple of years. So I was curious, you were saying that it's everywhere. You can't escape it.
It is.
So how do you take care of your customers? Because I'm sure people are not super happy and jolly about their rates increasing.
No, nobody's happy about that, myself included, but you can't hide from it. I mean, that's the thing that I think a lot of people ignore it and it'll go away, and I've never found that to be a good action.
Yeah.
And so what we've gone to is when we see the rate increases coming through, I've got a team member that actually texts, if we've got available a text number for clients, to just give them a heads up. Rates are increasing. We noticed on your particular policy that it's increasing at a rate that is significant.
Yeah.
And so inviting them at that point just to sit down and talk about their coverage and review everything and just find out what things that we have within our control to try and make some changes
Yeah,
to save some premium.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how often would you recommend doing that anyway?
We try every 2 years.
Okay.
And so we've got it built into our system that when you start, we're going to put a reminder in there that's going to come up on your client file every 2 years where we're going to reach out and try and invite you back in to do the same thing. People get busy. I get it.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
have time, and who wants to talk about insurance if you feel like everything is going along just fine? No problem. But at least making the offer available. And I'm finding it's pretty easy to fill my calendar right now with people.
bet.
They're encouraged, they're pretty willing to come in and visit right now. They
I
want
bet.
to. Yeah.
It'd
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
change their deductible or
Oh, yeah.
look at some
Yep.
options that they have.
Deductibles, there's a lot of things that they can do. Discounts, we talked about the good student discount or the steer clear for the kids, but there are defensive driving discounts for the 55-plus drivers that just, encouraging them to do that. I've always encouraged them to do that to the point where I teach a class that gives that discount.
I was just going to
Okay.
ask
Yeah.
where they used to be at K-Bob.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
where is it held now?
So through community education, you can still find the one that's through KBOB, and I think that's taught through St. Cloud State.
Okay, and they
through
use the
their
back room then of now
instructors. Yep.
Chapala.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Oh.
they've maybe gone to Pizza Pub or one of the
Okay.
other places, or the library. But the one that I've done is, I initially had kind of started out just for clients, and then I've extended, and I'll open it up to just about anybody. But I give the class an 8-hour course, which is the one that's required for the 55 and older, once, and then it's a 4-hour refresher every 3 years thereafter. And I give one 8-hour course and one 4-hour course once a month, year-round.
You are required to take a course at 55?
For a discount.
No, you're not
Oh, for a
required.
discount.
Yeah.
You'd think, right?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah, you would think.
Some drivers you see out there
Yes,
should be, right?
absolutely.
Oh my gosh, for
But,
sure.
so if you take the course, though, you are
You
eligible
get
for a discount.
Yeah, and that's filed with state of Minnesota by all insurance companies, I think,
Okay.
give that discount. And so regardless, so you can get it online too.
Okay.
So if you don't have time to sit for a class somewhere, you can go online now. It's wonderful. And it's a 10% savings. So the key being is looking for some of that stuff
Right.
for people. Sit down. And then like Mary said too, deductibles, or maybe the vehicle is at a point where I don't want full coverage on it anymore.
Right,
I just
'cause
hope
it's
it keeps
aged.
going down the road and gets me back
Right.
and forth to work. That's
Yep.
real. I get that.
Yeah, take that collision off.
Yep. Why pay for full coverage on that? Makes no sense.
Yeah,
Right.
My car's worth $500.
Right, yeah, and I'm paying a lot more for insurance.
I bet there's a lot of people that are paying for full coverage that
And don't
necess-
realize it.
Yeah.
They've just let it run, and just set it and forget it attitude. And that's something that I think you pick up. And so just good communication, reaching out and
Yeah.
just asking for an opportunity. Hey, can I sit down and review my policies with you?
Right.
Because the rates have gone up and I'd really like to do something about it.
Yep.
And
And
there are
just
generally things you find.
Yeah, explain them to their car, like, okay, if you got in a accident right now and they totaled it, this is
Yep.
what you would get.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'd rather
this is
put
what
my
you're
money,
paying.
right?
Yeah.
I'd rather put my money in the bank to save for my next
Right,
car than pay the
exactly.
insurance company. Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Same thing on, you look at people and have them, just ask them, what's a small loss for you? What type of a loss would you actually turn in? Okay, and so do your
Right.
policies actually reflect what your thoughts are on that? If your deductible's set low, but you've got a high threshold for what you would consider a loss, why are you paying extra for a low
Right.
deductible? Just little stuff like that.
Yes.
That they miss. And so, education.
And every couple of years, it's really, I think, surprising when you go in and have everything rerun and you can save money.
Oh, yeah, huge.
Yeah.
And then the insurance companies, I know a lot of them now, State Farm included, are doing more as far as technology. And that's not something that's for everybody. I can example, my dad absolutely hates the idea of this drive safe and save discount that State Farm offers. But essentially all it is a little deal that pairs with your phone that gives you a report card after you do every trip. Shares that data with State Farm.
Okay.
Okay, and so like you see the commercials out there, like we
Yeah.
talked about earlier, it's basically, you don't want to be paying insurance like the guy whipping donuts in the in the parking lot, that type of a thing. It makes it individual to you.
Right.
Some people like that, some people don't.
Right.
So your dad does not do that?
Well, it took a long time.
Okay.
Until my mom finally said, we're doing this. And then,
So
and then it
you
was
just
done.
need a smartphone.
Yeah.
Which everybody,
Yeah. Which a lot of
most
people do.
have. Yeah.
And depending on the company, some of them have some that plug in, whatever the case might be. But those are things. And then AI, I think, is going to have a bearing on it too. I think it's going to make things better in some respects. Just maybe the claim experience
Yep.
might be handled differently. If you can utilize AI and get through
Yeah.
that process a little easier once you've got all the information inputted, that would be nice.
Yes.
So, just to speed things. So attack some of those costs.
Right, because it can be a process to submit a claim.
Yep, it absolutely is. And think about it too. I always have empathy for people submitting a claim. In a lot of cases, it's the first time they've ever had a loss.
Right.
And it's a lot. It's a big upset in a household if you've got that happening.
Right.
Regardless of whether it's a home or an auto. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Big deal.
Yeah. Anything else from you guys?
Was that kind of our last point there?
Yeah.
How they take care of customers.
Yeah.
And,
I always remember when you were working as an insurance agent and there was the long message when you weren't there.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
You
And
cannot
remember, you
bind
cannot-
coverage.
Yeah, you cannot.
By
This
leaving
is
a
not.
voicemail.
We are not covering you. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Do not leave a voicemail.
This is
It's a
not
Sunday.
binding. This is not
Yes.
binding coverage.
That must be regular practice.
And there's one other little device that, talking about technology, it's called Ting, and it actually monitors the house, their electrical systems, to see if you're having a problem with like any shorts. or
Oh,
things
really?
That could cause potentially fire.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, why
And
wouldn't you want that?
I don't know why, because right now, like for State Farm, they're giving it away free, these little devices. They'll send it to clients.
Wow.
And they'll pay, and again, it's something that I can look on my phone right now and I can see how's my system at home look. Do I have any spikes?
Oh,
Or
yes.
anything
That's
that would
really
be
cool.
yeah.
I mean, that's a win-win, because that's a
Yeah.
win for the person, it's a win for the insurance company,
Well,
and,
I don't want to have my house burned down.
right,
Right.
yeah.
That's the worst. Everybody I've seen go through that's the absolute worst
Yes,
situation.
yes,
you've ever
devastating.
encountered. Yeah, horrible. Your
Yeah.
memories are just
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible.
gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you for coming today. I know that you're very busy, and so we
It's
really
nice to be
appreciate
here.
it.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, and having you come here and share some of this information with everybody.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yep.
Great.
And we're all going to leave with a vision of a boar in a car.
Shudder.
Exactly.
That's great. That's a great story.
That's a great one, yeah. So until next time, this is Kim, Zach, and Mary signing off. This is Princeton. Stay here, play here. Podcast produced by Kitzman Creations. Music by Charles Moe. Be sure to subscribe to the Princeton Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also, to view our awkward moments, check us out on our YouTube channel and visit us at www.thisisprincetonmn.co.